I think you'd hear a mix of, depending on the day and time, a lot of conversation.
Collaborative learning.
Yeah. And then also some independent learning too.
Yep.
Some think time for them and things like that. Our kids do a nice job working together, and I feel like we kind of set that up at the beginning of the year. We set our expectations high, and then we also involve them in setting the expectations, and I think that makes a difference when things aren't going so well. We can refer back to like our class pledge and our expectations and the things that they said they wanted out of our classroom.
I spend a lot of time at the beginning of the school year just trying to set up routine, and I want to always be approachable so that kids can come to me, parents can come to me. I'm a big believer in just having fun at school too, so I laugh at myself when I make mistakes. I'm a strong believer in having a positive classroom culture where, as I tell my kids, we're just family.
I use the three-strike policy, and it's very effective, and it's just a gentle reminder for all the kids. When they hear it go to one student, it really triggers with them also as a reminder for that they need to be on task.
One of the things that I do, we always try to kind of set a social goal. So we'll set up a point system with the kids, and I'll write some letters on the board maybe for following directions, and then they'll have to cross off each letter. And once we get the letters crossed off, then they earn a little reward for that. And a lot of times I'll pair that with, I get a box also, and if they're showing a behavior that isn't meeting that goal, then I get a point. So hopefully they get their points before I do.
I make sure at the beginning of the year that I lay out my expectations, and the first few weeks of school or so we go over them and over them and over them so they become routine behavior, and I just have to remind them from then on out.
We make classroom rules as a class, and then I write it on a big piece of post-it note paper, and then everybody has to sign it like a contract. We keep it in our room year round, and they know we refer back to it if we need to.
One of the most common difficulties, I would say, one of them, because there are lots, I would say is parent concerns and like emails or calls or just any contact when it's not so positive, I guess, when there's a problem. I guess most parents just really want to be heard and make sure that they're listened to, so you have to make sure that, you know, they understand that you are listening to them and you understand them, and even if it's not such a pleasant situation, it's just really important that you're as pleasant as can be and really try hard not to take things personally like that. So you just have to be as pleasant as possible and kind of fake it till you make it sort of deal. So
I think this year we have really been able to shift our rooms to being more project-based, and it's felt good for us as teachers, and I think that our passion comes through that way, but then the kids also have more voice and choice in what they're doing.
I try to use a variety of things. This year we have incorporated a lot more technology, and I do a lot of partner activities where they can work with each other, touch base with each other, bounce ideas off of each other.
Well, one of the things people are so quick to talk about is it's bullying. But this chart right here kind of talks about this is a no bully zone, and this kind of explains if it's bullying or not. So if someone does something unintentionally one time, that's just kind of being rude. And this one is if someone does it intentionally and they try to hurt you, that's they're being mean. And if someone does it, keeps doing it over and over and over, no matter what, that's bullying.
We are doing something next month where we're having a third grade culture day where we're going to be able to invite community members in from different cultures to share their traditions and expose the students to some different diverse cultures in our community.
In social studies, we're able to focus on it in one of our units, but then also we had a student move into my classroom this year from Mexico in November, and she's a non-English speaking student. And so the kids have kind of embraced that. They're trying to learn Spanish to communicate with her, and we're trying to just embrace it every day and help her feel more welcome.
Every 3 times a week we get together as our 6 teacher team, and we discuss students' data, sometimes some student concerns that go along with that data, but then we definitely work on grouping the kids for reading interventions, for math, use that data, kind of talk about what we're going to do for interventions.
I communicate daily activities such as behavior, or if there are any issues with behavior, and definitely academic achievements or areas of concern.
I think you'll find you communicate more with some parents than others, and it's hard to balance that and to make sure you get to everyone. The last couple of years I've tried to set a goal to do once a month with each parent, but that's even sometimes hard, and you almost have to track it to make sure you hit everyone, because there's always 1 or 2 that always seem to go by you. So just make a plan and stick to it, I guess.
Probably weekly, whether it's just buying a book to use as a mentor text or supplies that we need in the room. I would say probably weekly. Sometimes it's $2, sometimes it's $25.
I actually use it quite often. Our building doesn't have a direct budget for special ed teachers, so it's just I will a lot of times buy mentor texts with my own money that will apply to the reading skills being taught, and any supplies I need for math manipulatives, flashcards, and things like that, that has to come from my own pocket also.
15 years of teaching, yes, I definitely get first day jitters. I still get jitters with teacher conferences, with even having Valentine's Day party and parents coming into my room. I still get those jitters to make sure that I'm have that professionalism, but also that connection with the parents. But love the first day of school, though.
I would say that our curriculum is already set for us with following the Common Core standards, but we already have district standards and requirements that we have to meet as well, so that kind of helps us look at our overall goals as a district. But we also have curriculum teams that kind of go through different resources. For example, I'm on Math Cadre. Last year we went through different examples of curriculums. We did some pilots. So we chose our curriculums based off of the state standards, which is what we need to teach.
I am a big collaborative person, so my co-teacher and I work a lot together. We kind of meet at the end of each day and go through what the kids need, reassess our lesson that way. And we don't do a day-by-day thing, but we definitely see how the day goes and then what do the kids need for the following day.
I think it's really important to collaborate with teachers. I work inside the classroom with small groups, and we're constantly going over what they're learning, what they're confused about, their answers, their questions, all that. And then we kind of sit back and we may reteach that lesson. We may reteach the same skill with a different book or with different kids. We may add a writing to strengthen that part. There's just lots of ways that we can strengthen the same lesson by reteaching.
Well, if a lesson doesn't go as well, I usually tend to stop right away. I don't continue with it and try to fix it, or just keep on going and try to, go back to it and say, okay, now for the next time I'm going to fix it. But I try to stop it and just say, okay, this is not working. Maybe it was the fact that I didn't explain something well, and I, just tell the kids we all make mistakes and we have to sometimes start all over so that you understand, the concept or the skill or whatever I'm teaching a little better. So I will, just kind of stop myself and start all over right at the moment.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes things in your head don't always work the same way that they do in your classroom, or things happen. And so sometimes you just have to stop, reset. Sometimes you could continue that same day. Other times you need to put it away for the day and come back to it, reflect on what didn't work well, why it didn't work well, and maybe start again the next day with a new set of expectations or a new game plan on how to attack that material.
I don't know that I ever completely rewrite them, but I add to them, I take things away, I kind of make some of those adjustments based on day-to-day teaching. So for example, in a math lesson, if kind of the day before I'm thinking, okay, this didn't go as great as I hoped it would, or looking at some of their formative assessments, if I know I need to do some reteaching, it helps me adjust my teaching or lessons for the next day. And then typically, if I kind of come up with an idea that's not in the book, I'll try to make sure that I add those notes in the side of my manuals or whatever I'm using, so I have that for the following year.
As teachers, I think here at Lakewood, we collaborate at least once a week in our PLCs. PLCs are a place where a group of teachers of 4 will get together and talk about data. They will talk about what they're planning to teach and how they're going to teach.
As a special ed teacher, I feel like collaboration is what I do. We have an all-inclusive model here at Lakewood. So I'm in constant collaboration with the teachers that I work with.
I think collaboration is something that is ongoing all throughout the day. Sometimes we have more formal time where we can sit down and really talk about a unit, and other times it's very spur of the moment where we meet at the door and talk about, hey, this was going well, so let's change this for this next hour.
I can't really say much more than that, but I wish that we had more time to do that. But like Janet said, sometimes it's just in the doorway telling each other, let's do this or let's try this. Otherwise with our PLCs.
I would say it's a lot of individualized differentiation. We do a lot of different screeners, phonics screeners, fluency and word screeners, and we can make groups based on what our data shows, but often have to cross groups or rearrange groups, and often do a lot of one-on-one based on what individual kids need. We use our curriculum, we use lots of different resources to kind of hit on those different needs that they have, but it varies from week to week, it varies from kid to kid, from test to test.
I have several students who are 2+ years behind grade level academically, and so I use the Bridges math intervention portion of our curriculum. It is geared about 1.5 years below grade level, and it's just really perfect for them. We do have to do that in a pull-out group, but they do get full class instruction too with number corner and things. Also in reading, I will teach the skill for the week that the 5th grade classes are teaching, but I will go through and use lower level reading material and apply that skill to that material so that they get that also.
Well, we do a number of different things. First of all, I figure out what I'm going to teach. Teaching and knowing what you're going to teach is number one. Then taking that and seeing how the technology will help you teach and how to engage your students, because they need to be engaged for them to learn, I feel. And another tip is to make sure you take one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed. Like, take one app, one thing off the web, one thing, get really good with it, have your kids conquer it, and then move on.
I think one of the best things I've heard or seen is just to start where you are and just try something. We know, you guys know, you're young people getting into the profession, that teaching and technology are not going to separate. We're going to be doing more and more as time goes on, so I think it's important that you become comfortable with learning technology, sometimes along with your students. Sometimes you might have more knowledge coming in, but even I know a lot of the Google stuff pretty well, but there are times often that a 5th grader or even a 3rd grader will show me a shortcut that I never knew, or an idea that I had never thought of trying that worked really well. They are some of my best troubleshooters, honestly, sometimes when something doesn't go right. So I think it's important that we remember that technology is important. It is not the most important thing. It's still the teacher who's delivering the instruction. It's still got to be standard driven. You know, there's still got to be a reason for technology. I think one of the biggest pitfalls we have is that we use technology when maybe we shouldn't. It doesn't always have a place. So I think one of the most important quotes I saw was that it said tasks before apps. I think that you can take that to computer programs or whatever. But what do you want students to do? That backward design. Where do we want them to end? And then how can technology play a meaningful part in that?
Before I started teaching, I wish that I knew just how much time it would consume. So not only do you have like the planning and the grading and that kind of time, but it also just consumes your thoughts. Like when you're not at school, you're thinking about your kids, or you're thinking about how you can be better, and it takes a lot of time. But it's good. It's a good time because you like doing it, but it's definitely a lot of time.
Yeah, just to go along with that, I would agree with that, and with just all the small, finer details that come with it. Like at the beginning of the year, decorating your classroom, getting it organized in a way that's going to work for you and for your students. So just like all those details with the classroom and all of that.
I would say that it's just a lot more than just teaching. It's relationship building with parents and staff and the students, and a lot of time outside of school too, where you're kind of like a role model in the community. So yeah.
I think just the amount of politics that are involved in teaching, and the amount of getting involved in the community, and that you're a teacher not only here at school, but after school, outside of school, everywhere you go, you're a teacher, and there is a certain standard that you have to live up to all day.
I think biggest thing I wish I would have known is that there is such a thing as caring too much, and that you have to find a balance of where your line is and where you should draw the line.
I wish I knew how many little things there were that go into it, because all you really talk about in college are the planning and a little bit of assessing, but there's also just every little decision you have to make about classroom management, talking to parents, communicating with other teachers, co-planning, co-teaching. There's so much that goes into it, and I wish I just would have, known all the steps and everything.
Great. I would say, get involved. Don't hesitate. Be proactive. Get in there. Say, what can I do? And just dig in with the kids, because that's where your real experience is going to be gained. You learn a lot in school, and they'll teach you a lot of really good strategies. But until you actually apply those, it's tough. So get in there, and that helps you when you are interviewing. You can talk about some of the experiences you've had and some of the things that you've done with kids, and principals, people interviewing you, they'll be able to pick up on that, and they'll know how into the kids you are, and how much you love learning based on some of those experiences that you've had.
First and foremost, network. You never know who's going to be your next boss. You don't know who they're going to know. Those conversations come up, so you want your name to be part of those conversations. And like I said, don't be afraid to jump in. I know from my standpoint, I stayed back, but be prepared. Go into it. Be prepared, and embrace the challenge. I think those are the main things for you guys.
I think a big thing I have done is not allowing myself to take too much work home, or any work home at all. I stay a little bit later, I come early in the mornings, and I get my work done, and times throughout the day when I could be sitting around doing something else. I think that's a good balance, is just not bringing anything home and allowing myself to relax when I get home.
I think the way I balance school and a life outside of work is by making sure I leave at a certain time every day, and not letting myself stay so late every single day. And then going home and doing yoga and hanging out with my friends, having a social life. And then also just working when I need to, and not making myself come in when I don't actually need to be here.
It's tough because there's a lot going on. I think there's just has to be a point where you just like walk away from the work, because there's always going to be work to do. So whether it's picking like a few nights that you stay and, you know, do your work and plan out and everything, and then the rest of the nights are a certain cutoff time where you're like, okay, no more school, it's my free time. I think that that's really important. So managing your time wisely, and also I think hitting like a point where you're like, all right, time's up for school, because you could just keep going forever.
I think just having a positive attitude towards everything, not leaving school on a negative, and that way you're going back home or going somewhere on a positive, and then you're coming back in the morning on a positive, and just having good time management.
I think the biggest thing is to really get to know your veteran teachers and rely on them. And also another thing is you're never going to be ahead. Try what you want to do, but you're never going to be ahead. So my point is to find a good stopping point, get what you need to get done, and the day is never the same. Something always comes up. You'll never get through your plans, I promise you that. Just rely on those veteran teachers those first couple years to really get it all figured out.
Kind of going on with what she said, like your to-do list will never be finished, even when the school year is over. It's, you know, it's always going to keep growing and adding on more, and so just don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask your administrators, your coaches, teaching partners, veteran teachers. Just don't ever be afraid to ask for help.
Mine would be kind of bouncing off that. Beg, borrow, and steal. Anything and everything you can get your hands on. You will probably have really, really good ideas, but that doesn't mean someone else in your group or your coworkers or wherever you are will have good ideas either. So share, share, share. The more you can share, the less workload you will have.